Today we're going to Stalag VIII, not Stalag Luft, but just Stalag, so it's just a prison. What's happening, fellow scot-free travelers? Today, we're headed back again to the border. If you've watched the last video, we went to Stalag VIII. Today we're going to Stalag VIII, not Stalag Luft, but just Stalag. So it's just a prison. Just a prison. You know, oftentimes we're familiar with Auschwitz. We always hear about Auschwitz. But unfortunately enough, however you want to look at it, you know, tragically enough, really, concentration camps and forced labor camps were all over Poland. All over Poland. Matter of fact, just behind me, about a quarter of a mile or so, there was a concentration camp that housed about 1,000 workers working on an armory. And I hope you enjoy our little trip. Well, we've made it to Stalag VIII-A, located outside of Gorlitz, Germany, or Zgorzelec, Poland. This area was about 30 acres. It was a POW camp, much like Stalag Luft III, located up in Jagan, north of here, northeast. But it was one of the POW camps. Very similar type facility. It housed Russians, Americans, French, Poles, you name it, they were all pretty much here. The different signs tell about the different places. This place began in early 1939, prior to Germany invading Poland. You see that car pulling in behind me over there? When that thing first came in, it was a super source of frustration for me. I thought that it had ruined the entire video. I even cursed a little bit. But once I discovered who was in it, it changed the entire direction of the video. With preparation for POWs to come here, it housed Americans, Russians, French, any of the Allied forces that were here, and Poles, of course. There are over 120,000 prisoners here, and of those 120,000 prisoners, about 10,000 died between 1939 and May of 1945, when the camp was liberated by the Allies. Let's take some time and have a look around and see what we can see. Even before the beginning of World War II, in September of 1939, German authorities began to build camps allocated for POWs. There were camps for officers, Auflags, and those for soldiers and NCOs, Stalags, as well as transitory camps, Dulags. Stalag VIII-A was one of 220 POW camps in Germany. It was built as a transitory camp in August of 1939 in Gorlitz, today Zgorzelec, and was part of Military District 8 in Breslau, modern-day Wrocław. The first Polish prisoners arrived here by the end of September and were initially quartered in Dulag tents and forced to build the Stalag. Throughout World War II, until 8th May 1945, there were approximately 120,000 POWs imprisoned here. The Stalag stretched over an area of 30 hectares and comprised of the main camp and so-called fore camp, with barracks for the use of headquarters and guards, officers, and as an inspection venue. There were also a few shelters. Wehrmacht troops, who acted as guards, were stationed in the nearby barracks. Across the main camp, which was fenced with a double row of barbed wire and equipped with 11 watchtowers, ran an internal road. The first-line barracks were designed to serve a variety of functional purposes. This is also where a vegetable garden was located, maintained by the prisoners.
Behind another fence there were 40 barracks, 20 of which were isolated from the west of the camp and were designated for the use of the Soviet and Italian intern. 12 other accommodated the Western prisoners, Serbs, and a small group of Poles. There were also 2 kitchens, a canteen, and latrines. The remaining buildings housed a chapel, a library, a theater, an extra fenced detainment facility, an infirmary, shoemakers, tailors' workshops, as well as prisoners delegated to work divisions. In the same area were a sports field and a system of trenches located. Outside the northern border of the camp was a burial site for Soviet POWs. The living quarters, wooden or core and shell conditioned masonry buildings measuring 50 by 10 by 3 meters, were divided into 2 sections with 2 separate entries. The middle part housed washrooms and laundry rooms. Each section had a heating furnace, but fuel was not always available. Nighttime toilets were located in the entryways. The barracks were equipped with tables and bunk beds, double in the beginning and triple as more prisoners were arriving in the camp. The headroom between the bunks was merely 1 meter. POWs slept on straw or wood shaving mattresses. Any extra furniture was made of reused cartons and cases salvaged from ICRC packages. While the minimum intended occupancy of a barrack was about 200 people, the actual number of inhabitants was usually around 300, with the exception of the Soviet barracks, which were up to 600 prisoners. Hundreds of thousands of the Third Reich men of different professions had to vacate their jobs due to the outbreak of war and continuous mobilization. These shortages were prevented by mass employment of POWs. 80% of POWs, after registration in the Stalags, were relocated to work divisions. Some of them were released from the Stalags and granted the status of forced laborers, which allowed the authorities to easily hire them in the military industry. The organization of POW camps was planned long before September of 1939. The POWs were to constitute a cheap labor force, so necessary for the German economy during the war. Some of them, deprived of POW status, particularly the Soviets, were employed as forced laborers in the armaments industry. This allowed the Germans to circumvent the provisions of the Geneva Convention, which prohibited POWs from working in the production of weapons and ammunition. The first transport of 8,000 Polish POWs arrived at Gorlitz on September 7, 1939. In keeping with the Third Reich policies, they were treated as second-rank prisoners from the onset. On the way to the transit camps, the locals and Hitlerjugend Corps greeted the newcomers with slur, spit, and oftentimes rocks thrown at them. Most prisoners were delegated to work divisions, mainly farming. Others were directed to build barracks, making up the proper stalag. From spring of 1940 to February of 1942, Polish POWs were gradually relocated to other stalags deeper into the Third Reich. Prisoners of war at all times shall be humanely treated. This is the second sentence of Article 2 of the Geneva Convention of 1929. Their lives and dignity were to be protected. But did this protection apply to the prisoners of Jewish origin? The Nazi interpretation of this article was limited to a relative observance of the laws of war for Allied prisoners of Jewish origin. Polish Jews who were taken prisoner were harassed from the very beginning, subjected to humiliating procedures, and separated from other prisoners of war. Russian prisoners of Jewish origin were rarely held captive for long. They were subject to selection in the transit camps and then either shot or sent to death in extermination camps. After the Russians, Ukrainians were the most numerous nationality group in the Red Army. Historians estimate their number to be between 6 and 7 million. However, there were no separate Ukrainian nationality units. The word Ukrainian appears in the names of fronts or divisions, referring to the location where the front was formed or where an important battle was fought. Private and low-ranking soldiers either died or were sent into captivity by the thousands. It is estimated that 1,700,000 of those captured were of Ukrainian nationality. The statistics generally recorded their affiliation with the USSR. In some instances, their nationalities were not noted, but this was irrelevant to their treatment, as they were considered the lowest class of prisoners. Indeed, in Stalag VIII, Gorlitz, hunger, lack of medical care, overcrowded barracks, and hard labor led to thousands reaching the death toll. Out of all captured 5.7 million Soviet POWs, 3.3 million lost their lives in the camps. Since Nazi authorities claimed these prisoners of war were not protected under the Geneva Convention, they were deliberately left to die. The central tenet of this policy towards Soviets was extermination through work. About 10,000 Soviet POWs died in Stalag VIII-A. The first POWs to arrive were Polish troops. Then came the French, Belgian, British, Serbian, Red Army combatants of different nationalities, Italians, Americans, and Slovaks. The most numerous groups were the French and Soviet POWs. One French POW of note is Olivier Messiaen, a composer, organ player, and educator who was born in Avignon in 1908. It was here, in Stalag VIII, thanks to a fortunate coincidence, that his famous Quartet for the End of Time for piano, violin, clarinet, and cello was created. In addition to the French, and as mentioned previously, British and Commonwealth prisoners of war arrived at the Stalag in September of 1943. They were transported from Italian POW camps after Italy, previously a German ally, entered into an armistice with the Allies. The Commonwealth soldiers were taken prisoner during the fighting in North Africa. The Commonwealth group consisted mainly of British, New Zealanders, Australians, and South African nationals. Those soldiers traveled from Perth to Singapore to Colombo, Sri Lanka, and then on to battles in North Africa, only to unfortunately get caught and moved to POW camps in Italy and ultimately to Stalag VIII. I was fortunate enough during the making of this video to run into the daughter of one of the prisoners. Here is her story. So this is Patsy. Let's see if I can get this. Patsy's from Australia. And it turns out that Patsy's father was here 80 years ago.
That's correct. Yeah, he was my mother and father were married midnight, and he came away to war the next day. And they went to, their camp was at the Gaza Strip, and they went across to Africa to fight. So he was a rat of Tobruk. And then they went back to Gaza, and then they were in the Battle of El Alamein. So he was in the first Battle of El Alamein, in which he was captured. And then in the second Battle of El Alamein, that's when the Allies overrun the Germans, and it finished there for Africa. But he was captured, and he was taken up to a prisoner of war camp at the top of Italy, Pupignano. And then when the Italians went out of the war, the Germans brought them here in horse trucks and cattle trucks. And he was
all
here
the way
for,
from Italy.
Yeah, and he was here for 2.5 years.
2.5 years.
Yep, really.
But he made it back, yeah?
Made it back. He died when he was 49
Oh, wow.
as an alcoholic because he couldn't stand
With
the terror.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
So
I sure
just
appreciate you
wanted
talking
say
to
that.
us.
Thank you.
Do you mind if I walk with you?
No, not at all.
All right. We'll walk fast because you're going to the train station?
Oh, well, yeah, whenever.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. The train,
Train 4, and then there's another one, I don't know, 6 or something. Doesn't matter. Doesn't bother me. Just so not to do this down here.
so this is, it's got the site plan there.
Yeah, I've seen that before actually. Site plan. Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah, this is my first time to
Is
this
it?
camp. Yeah, I was at Stalag VIII last weekend and did
Oh, that's the air one.
where the Great Escape movie and all that.
Yeah, right. Oh, wow. He doesn't mind. I'm trying to wait, but
Oh, he'll be fine. If he doesn't wait, then I'll take care of you. Don't worry. I've got you.
I'll read it all later. Unless my father pops up somewhere, but I doubt it. Yeah. Wow. Oh my God. have an interest.
Sorry?
Obviously, you have an interest in this sort of thing.
Yeah, I enjoy history.
Yeah.
You know, I used to be a park ranger back in the States, and then, like I say, I work here.
Okay.
And I have this little YouTube channel. I like to travel.
Oh, lovely.
So it's Traveling Scot-Free. My last name's Scott. And so that's kind of the play on words. And
Fantastic.
I come out to places that are fairly close. So the 7th of September of 1939 is when the first Polish prisoners were here, the first Polish prisoners. And I was reading earlier, Patsy, that talked about like some of the prisoners, they to get around the Geneva Convention, the Germans didn't give them POW status and paid them some small meager sum of money as forced laborers, and that was one of the signs.
Tell you what, we've just done Auschwitz and Birkenau.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and Schindler's
Sure.
Museum. Boy, boy, some horrendous stuff. Horrendous. Now, he
Yeah,
won't
it's
go
all.
anywhere if I'm paying him. He'll lose his money if he goes. Oh well, I'm sure my father knows I'm here.
I'm sure.
Freak, you know.
1.4 million soldier prisoners total in the war.
I went to the Italian prisoner of war camp that he was in as well,
Mm-hmm.
and there's sort of nothing left there either, as you'd expect. Yugoslavs.
So I imagine that we're walking around the outside of the camp because 30 acres.
Yeah. British. They probably stuck us under the British.
Well, here, right here, look, they were taken prisoner during the fighting in North Africa.
Yeah.
The group consisted of,
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah.
New Zealanders, Australians, and South African nationals.
Because there were two battles of El Alamein. Most people only know about the Battle of El Alamein, and that was when, I said, when the Allies overthrew Rommel.
Mhm.
And that basically is what saved the Suez Canal. Because they were getting very close to the Suez Canal
Mhm.
to take that over. So, yeah. So the dad just got, hello, beautiful. Hello. Hi. Oh, you're just like my puppy. Just like mine. Like my puppy.
Yeah?
Left in Australia. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Gorgeous.
You'll see them again.
Yes.
Again.
Yeah, a couple of weeks.
Are
Beautiful.
Are you here because of the Stalag?
Yes, my father was here
Your father.
as a prisoner. Yeah.
And you have some contact with Meeting Point Memory Messiaen?
No, nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. No, I just stumbled across that on the net when I was looking for where he was here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I work for the organization Meeting Point Memory Messiaen. And now
It's the foundation.
Yeah. It's
built
done
this.
this.
Yeah, yeah.
and
Wonderful.
And we put together the infos about the prison,
That's wonderful.
Yeah,
Yes,
they're collecting
every photos or some history, biography of the. Maybe you can.
They didn't know. Dad didn't talk about the war when he came back. It was obviously very horrendous. We only knew that, as I said, that he was a rat of Tobruk and he was captured in El Alamein and was brought to here. Yeah, so we didn't know anything about what happened here.
Yeah.
And all the he used to write aerograms to Mum, and I remember seeing them as a kid with little pieces cut out of them where they'd censored them, and nobody can find them.
But so you don't have some pictures from this time or
Not
from
from
some
here, no.
postcards, or some.
No, that's the stuff that's been lost. And I was
Yeah.
so disappointed.
Yeah.
My mother wouldn't let me keep the letters that Dad had written. They'd written to each other, and
Yeah, okay.
I just know the night that he was captured, he was writing her a letter, and he said, "I must go, sweetheart. There's a terrific din outside." And it turns out that was the night that he got captured, and that was all we knew about from here. Yeah.
It was at this point where Patsy had to leave us and get back to her cab. I'm sure while she was walking through the woods, she reflected on her father and his time here at this camp. All of us were grateful to have met her and to actually have heard her story. Patsy, if you do watch this, we thank you so much for sharing your story with us. After Patsy had left, Magda and Sebastian and I continued to discuss how fortunate we were, and we also discussed the memorial organization that Magda had worked for involving Stalag VIII. Here's the continuation of that story.
Tell me the name of your organization.
The organization called is Meeting Point Memory Messiaen.
Ich möchte, ja, bevor ich arbeite gerade nicht, weißt du.
Ja, das ist aktuell jetzt mal.
I'm still a part of the organization, so we make
private visits now.
Visits, family. But when I saw this woman, then in Australia, I heard Australia. Then I wanted to talk about what she is making here, and
because in the meeting point they have people or men who was prisoner here, and they're searching, of course, for every history, for every people, for every story. They know pictures, postcards, whatever, to collect them to make this big archive. At the end, to document as much as possible.
Every person, every visit here, every postcard is important. Yes. This organization is very special because it's a Polish and Deutsch together. There are workers from Poland and Deutschland together, and we have also this building here, European Center of Organization Meeting Point is on the Berlin side, but we come here also to work here on this Polish side, and it's very special because it's German Polish together work. So
Right, cooperation.
Cooperation, yes. And we also have every year we have some special camp for 2 weeks. Every year since
Nearly 20 years?
20 years. Come young people from the land, from the nation of this prisoner to make together work here, so archaeological works. They
dig it up and do archaeology. Oh wow!
Yes.
Yeah.
Or some theater and music workshops where they work with the story. Some new very special camp because it's not only fun, also a little bit.
Right.
Also,
But in memory, right? It's not a big party, but it's in memory, right? Yeah.
And of course, they're young people and they enjoy this work a lot. I think also for.
Again, I was humbled on this trip with the privilege of meeting Magda and Sebastian and learning about the meeting point, where Poles and Germans get together to memorialize the prisoners of war and their families. Now, I continue to explore the rest of Stalag VIII. Behind me here in the woods, if you take a look, you can barely see the remains of the building. What I'm seeing here is a series of bricks and what looks like a flat foundation, but deep in the woods, there's remnants of this camp. Here, behind this sign in the woods, is the remnants of what used to be a barracks building. During the International Youth Exchange in 2022, participants from Poland, Germany, Italy, and Ukraine uncovered a large area in the forest to illustrate the size of a barrack block. They uncovered 2 entrances, night toilets,
remnants of basin troughs, tile stoves, and walls. Let's go back and have a look. Behind me you can see what looks to me like a cistern. If you look in the clearing here, you can see basically an outline. Pretty much right along this line. And of course, this corner of the building here. So we're standing outside one of the bunkers here at Stalag VIII-A. And, you know, I assume this was a place where you had a rifle probably stick out. There's two holes like this. There's one on this side, one on that side. There's 3 or 4 of these that are left around the site. There's an entryway on the back side.
It's May 1945, the end of the war. Migrations on an unprecedented scale. The displacement and expulsion of people, the return home of forced laborers, concentration camp prisoners, prisoners of war, and soldiers meant that millions of people were on the move. The German city of Gorlitz on the River Neisse was the route of these journeys. Its part on the eastern side of the river, as a result of the Allied arrangements, fell to Poland. In this new city, which will soon become Zgorzelec, Polish life is being organized, and many of those passing through stop here, and they start to act. Among them are also the last Polish prisoners of Stalag VIII-A in Gorlitz, located on this side of the city. On May 18th at 1 a.m., 3 Polish prisoners left Stalag VIII-A. They were Lieutenant Kraskowski, 2nd Lieutenant Dominik, and 2nd Lieutenant Spichowicz. Here's how they described that May event. We march along the Neisse River along its course. In the morning we reached a collapsed bridge. We enter the city. The gates of the houses are open. There's no sign of people. We enter the blocks. We are deadly exhausted. We fall asleep. In the abandoned apartments you can find many articles. This blissful state lasted until May 20th, 1945. It was Sunday. I am on guard. I hear a conversation in Polish in the yard, and I see a man and a woman riding a bicycle. I call to my colleagues, and we bravely come out of hiding. At the sight of us, the others are dismayed, but after a few sentences we learn that they came here to organize Polish power, because the area from the Oder to the Neisse is Poland, so we are in Poland.
As I'm standing outside this bunker here at Stalag VIII-A, I came here with no expectations. Just another prison camp that's around. I'll show you guys around, show you a building, maybe, show you some history. Here's a bunker, a small one, you know, obviously a gun port and whatnot. But what ended up happening here was almost transforming. I ended up having a real connection to this place. While I was videoing, and what you guys may not understand is while I was videoing, this taxi cab comes up and it's noisy. And I'm like, oh, I just want the video to be good. This lady gets out and she goes over to the pictures behind me and I don't want to be in the shot. I stop the video and I sit there angrily and I wait for her to get out of the shot. And then I start up again once she had moved. Well, the driver of the taxi cab, he spoke to me. He says, oh, you're from the United States. Because I'm still driving around on Jersey plates. That's a long story. But I said, yeah. He says, well, the lady's from Australia. And so I said, to myself, I said, I'll take a moment and go talk to her. And she speaks English. I want to know what she's here for. And it turns out, as you saw, her father was imprisoned here. And it was the second prison camp that I recall from our conversation. He was a prisoner in Italy and then ended up here. And I'm sure he went through more. And these places, we see them on TV, The Great Escape, the movie. We read about it in the history books. We hear about it online. But in our lifetimes, they're real places with real people and real connections. And people like Magda and her husband, Sebastian, they bring memory. They keep the memory maintained. They work with the memorial group here, and she's still deeply, entrenched. She's still deeply motivated to explain this place to people. And she was so sweet. She says, I wanted to say so much more, but my English was so little. And I said, Magda, it's okay. Your English was great, and we understand. And so I encourage you, I'm going to put the link down below of their organization. I encourage you to go look at that and learn more about this stalag and the other stalags. I'm looking at a sign off to my right over here, and it says that the number of interned amounted to over 30,000 here, with a peak number of 47,328, and that was in September of 1944. I also read on another sign down the road, or this trail, there was over 1.4 million prisoners overall. That's a lot of folks. They included Italians, believe it or not, Australians, British, New Zealanders, Americans, Poles, French, you name it. The list kept going. Brits, if I didn't say that already. So it's important that we remember these things, and that's kind of part of the reason I'm here. I do traveling scot-free. It's fun. But we also need to remember our history and where we came from. I appreciate you watching. Thank you so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and also check out that information for their organization in the link below. Thanks.